An AEW star has returned, turned heel, and started a new faction on last night's Dynamite. WWE Raw is heading to Saudi Arabia, and Bryan Danielson's retirement plans have been revealed. It's time for the news. For the first time since Forbidden Door, we saw Jon Moxley in an AEW ring last night, making a surprise appearance and calling out Darby Allin. But this isn't just any regular Jon Moxley. He seems bad.
Oh, he sure does. He's got his head shaved and he came out to his Death Rider music instead of Wild Thing. And he very much had like a heel-like cadence in the way that he spoke as well during the little promo thing that he did in the ring. He declared to Tony Schiavone that this is not your company anymore, which confused Schiavone as Moxley left.
He's got the wrong Tony. He's got him mixed up there, hasn't he? I took this as like he knows that Tony Khan is back in Gorilla. He's in the earpiece, isn't he? He's talking to Tony Khan there. Really, really happy with the return of the Death Rider music being used. I think it's awesome, and if he does go down this heel path, which it looks like he's gonna, I think that's perfect for him. He went on to pick a fight with security, and then was joined by The Problem, Marina Shafir, seemingly forming a new alliance. So that's something that's really, really unexpected and really, really cool. What do you make, first of all, of him calling out Darby Allin?
I think it's maybe like a clever thing to do, because Darby, as we were saying before we started filming, Darby will bump like a maniac for Jon Moxley, and Jon is going to do something absolutely despicable to Darby, I feel like.
I think that's exactly it.
To really solidify this new Jon Moxley character.
I've got a feeling that Darby might take a bit of time off. He said recently he still wants to go and climb Everest.
Yes.
Nutter. And I reckon, Jon Moxley is going to do something absolutely horrible and, destroy that man. And it's going to be brilliant.
Yes, it is.
What about Marina Shafir? What do you make of that partnership?
It's nice to see that they've given her something to do. I think she showed growth within the ring as well from when she first came to AEW. And it's something different. I know I think she's spoken previously about, she wanted to be within the Blackpool Combat Club group, but I feel like this stuff that's happening with Moxley is something that's going to be separate from that. Yeah. So him forming like this new faction that she can be a part of is really cool. I'm happy for her, and I can't wait to see where it goes, at least anyway.
I think they're going to be a bit loosey-goosey with the Blackpool Combat Club, because Bryan Danielson, while he's world champ, is 100% a babyface, obviously. Yeah. Pac, we'll talk about him in a moment, still looks to be healing it up a little bit. They've chopped and changed as they needed to. They've gone from babyfaces to heels to tweeners and everything in between as well. And so I think it's going to be a bit of a loose affiliation maybe with the BCC for the time being with Jon Moxley anyway, but it'll be interesting to see. As far as him saying this is not your company anymore, lots and lots of people are speculating that this could be the AEW debut of Shane McMahon, and they're going to do some sort of, hey, I've bought the company, or hey, I'm the authority figure now. You reckon?
No, I can't. I just don't see it fitting in with this version. I know it's very early days of seeing this version of Jon Moxley, but that version of Jon Moxley aligned with Shane McMahon, at least in my mind, doesn't fit quite together. They might prove me wrong if that does turn out to happen, but I don't see it at the moment.
You say that, but you've got three legit fighters in there. Marina Shafir, obviously, Shane McMahon, I don't need to say anything about that, and Moxley throws one hell of a wacky line. There was a bit of speculation that Moxley was going to be appearing at All In. That was never the case, according to a report from Fightful, who said that Jon Moxley was not in London for All In. However, he was backstage at the weekend's Pro Wrestling Revolver show. Those that they spoke to didn't hear anything related to his AEW status, so we'll keep an eye on all of that. Some big old matches have been announced for AEW All Out, which is under 2 weeks away.
Yep.
Last year, it was a week on from All In.
Yep.
This week, they've given us a whole fortnight to get ready for it. First off, Will Ospreay defending the International Championship against Pac. Ospreay came out to speak to the newest AEW signing, Ricochet, who obviously has a lot of history with, but Pac attacked Ospreay from behind with a reverse Hurricane Rana before he could even get a word out, and then he warned Ospreay to never turn his back on a bastard Bonnie Ladd, and then told Ricochet, get the back of the line.
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we know that that Pac had the shot. He won the shot anyway for the International Championship, even before All In. So therefore we were like, oh, when's Pac going to get his moment? Looks like we're going to get it here at All Out, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I like this. I think they should keep Will Ospreay and Ricochet apart for as long as possible, because it's one of the most... It's a very divisive match, or a series of matches that they had, but they were super, super hyped. Everybody was talking about them, and it seems to me just to be a little bit too obvious to go into that straight away. I think you give it 6 months to a year before you actually do that.
You don't want to blow your load like straight away, do you?
No, you don't.
You don't. I think you're right. I think you know that you've got something special there, so why not just let it build for a little bit at least?
Two pretty different wrestlers from when they were back then. Ospreay more so.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see with where they're at in their careers now, when that match does happen, how that plays out. I think it's going to be a very different match. I think they're going to subvert expectations there. The CMLL Women's Champion Willow Nightingale is going to face Chris Statlander. We knew that was going to be happening, but as a result of winning that mixed tag team match on Sunday, Willow chose the stipulation for their match, and it is a Chicago street fight.
Ooh. Chicago. Looking forward to that one. We've got MJF versus Daniel Garcia as well. So last night on Dynamite, MJF denounced America and brawled with Garcia, which led to Garcia making the challenge for next Sunday. Obviously, we saw Garcia return at All In. He surprised MJF wearing the balaclava during his international title match. Fightful Select reports that Garcia wore the mask all day, even walking around backstage, which is fitting for the South.
Yeah, you got to admire that. I appreciate the commitment there. And you know what? I think this is going to do wonders for Garcia.
Yep.
I really hope Garcia goes over in this one. And I think he probably will. I think it's going to really help him out in his standing in the company. Finally, Swerve Strickland will meet Hangman Page, but it's not just any match. It's going to be a steel cage match at All Out as well.
Excited for that. Page defeated Ishii last night to open the show, which then led to a verbal confrontation between Page and Swerve. They had a heated back and forth, and it led Page to declaring Swerve couldn't beat him on his own. He was like, Prince Nana had to come in one time to help you. Brian Cage and Prince Nana had to come in one time to help you. You can't get it done on your Todd. So Swerve challenged him to prove that wrong with a steel cage match. Fightful Select also reporting during our interview with Swerve Strickland earlier this year, Swerve confirmed to Fightful that there was originally going to be more matches in their initial run. One of those was supposed to be a steel cage match late in 2023. However, after their highly touted blow-off match, it was decided that match was better to be used at a later time, and that cage match following the Texas Death Match. And I think that's a really good idea. I think AEW have done a brilliant job of continuing this story whilst both the wrestlers have been off doing other things. And do you know what? This all out card feels a little bit that way as well. They planted seeds for things prior to All In, and even a little bit further than that as well. And it's all started to nicely culminate, because sometimes you wonder, oh, well, we've only got a pay-per-view coming so soon after we've already just had one. How are they going to do all this build? They set it up beforehand anyway, and now we're getting the payoffs here, which is cool.
That's it, and I don't think they did that as well last year.
Yes.
It felt a little bit rushed, didn't it, last year?
Did.
But you're totally right that those seeds were planted, and so all of these matches feel very much natural, and we were building to them beforehand. Bryan Danielson's retirement plans have been revealed. The new AEW World Champion closing out last night's Dynamite with a promo, thanked his fans, described Sunday as his favourite moment of his entire career, and they addressed not being under an AEW contract since the start of August, needing neck surgery sooner rather than later. However, he declared that he would keep on wrestling for All Elite Wrestling, but his full-time career would end as soon as he lost the AEW World Championship. So this led, by the way, to an open challenge to the locker room. Out comes bloody Jack Perry. Jack Perry answers the challenge, laying out Danielson to close the show. That was a bit of a surprise. Yep. As far as Bryan Danielson, like, they're doing a sort of toned down version of the Ric Flair thing. The next time you lose, you're done. This is when you lose the title, you wrestle fewer matches, essentially. But no, it adds a huge amount of peril to proceedings. So hopefully Danielson holds that belt for 10 to 15 years, because I'll be gutted. I'll be so gutted. I know it's not the end of the end, but it's one step closer.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see who the person is that finally takes it away from him. Prior to this, I was like, oh, maybe he drops it at WrestleDream in Washington. However, WrestleDream is in October. I thought it was a little bit further out than that. I thought it was maybe December. He could have had a nice little run from now till December, but I believe WrestleDream's October, so it feels a little bit too soon for that.
I don't know. I don't think it was ever going to be an especially long championship reign, just given the state of him in the nicest way possible.
Yeah,
he's beat up, isn't he? He's knackered. I don't expect it to be Jack Perry for sure, but I think, honestly, if you want to put a load of heat on somebody, doing it in Washington, I think it could be that soon. And maybe he just has more defenses on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way that they go with it. We finish off with just a quick note on an upcoming WWE show. It looks like WWE Raw is going to be heading to Saudi Arabia. Worked Wrestling tweeting that WWE is set to hold an episode of the show in Riyadh later this year in November. Done a bit of working out here. Crown Jewel is set for November the 2nd. WWE isn't currently advertising an episode of Raw for the 4th or the 18th of said month. So it's probably going to be the 4th of November there for that Raw. Remember when when WWE initially started the relationship with Saudi Arabia, and they were just these weird bonkers glorified house shows, but with lots of fireworks, and they looked mental, like WrestleMania. And initially I thought that the crowd, it's going to be a very different crowd. Yeah, they're the smarkiest fans going on.
Big time. Yeah, they always give huge reactions and everything. I feel like this is something we were talking about not too long ago, about WWE sort of maybe having conversations about having like a Raw or a SmackDown after a premium live event, I guess for logistical reasons, and also I guess to make sure the wrestlers are not sort of stretching themselves out too thin from going from one place, then having to fly and then do a show not too soon afterwards.
Yeah, the last thing they want really is to be stuck on the tarmac again with whatever happened there, because NXT is not as good as it was back then. You haven't got you don't want them invading the show, do you?
Ross will have words with you about that.
Apart from Andre Chase.
Oh God.
He's the main man on NXT. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with more news very, very shortly. Pictures for Bash in Berlin on the channel now. Predictions coming up later tonight. We'll see you in a little bit.